oh gosh, I just did not know how to write dialogue at all at the time. And it was just exposition, exposition.
Can you think back to a great writing day, and what was it that made it so great?
A great writing day was when I was first learning how to write stage plays. And I had been in New York for a while. I had been part of the independent theater scene. I had met my producing partner, Brian Long. He was the managing director at Rattlestick Playwrights Theater, and they had such supreme talent there. When I first got there, they were doing a three-hander with Vanessa Redgrave, Jesse Eisenberg, and another talented actor, and his name is escaping me right now. But it was at the Cherry Lane Theater before A24 bought the theater. And it was in a 200-seat house, and it was just magic. And so I was slowly learning. I had a lot of embarrassing moments because I was meeting these kinds of actors in this echelon, and they were just great writers, and Jesse had written the play. He's a beautiful writer, an actor. And I would have a lot of readings at my apartment, and oh gosh, I just did not know how to write dialogue at all at the time. And it was just exposition, exposition. And I was still learning. I was determined to go to every Rattlestick play and talk with actors and keep just making bad writing. And this one day, I got into an argument with my partner. And he said, we were on the subject of end of life topics. And he was saying, if I were to ever get very sick, I wouldn't want you to see me that way. And I'd break up, we'd break up. And we had been together for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years by then. And we've been together now for going on 13. So we stayed together. But I remember just being so angry that it was just not my choice at all either, because we loved each other. And I went and I was just I can't look at you right now. And I went into the shower and I got lathered up, literally, and I came out of the shower, got dressed, went into my office at the time, and I wrote down our whole conversation that we had almost verbatim. And it ended up being the first scene in the play, which is called The Stage of Twilight, which is loosely based on that conversation, and also my father getting sick when I was 15 years old with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is cancer. And then his ultimate death when I was 21, and that whole experience of watching him suffer. And how embarrassed he was to suffer, because he was this blue-collar, hardworking, very respected man in the area that we lived. And I think it was really hard for him. And so that play was based off of that. But I think that was the proudest moment, is because I not only wrote a scene that the dialogue was good, I say that humbly, but it was pretty good. And it was just exciting. And I started to think bigger about the project. And I started to think about my dad and making notes and putting things together of how the arc could be based on these two narratives. And eventually it became a full-length play that Karen Allen became involved with. She's the star. And did a lot of readings all over the tri-state area, up in Dorset, Vermont, and Berkshire Theater Group in Massachusetts, and Cherry Lane Theater and Rattlestick in New York City. And we were so close to getting it produced when COVID hit, and theater just went to sleep for a while. But that led to me turning it into a screenplay. And that was the second feature. So again, it's you can make all the plans in the world, and what do they say? God laughs. And it's supposed to happen how it's supposed to happen. And if you're pliable, then it'll happen when it's going to happen.
And do you feel that story was closer to you than any others you've written? Or no, this just was just one part of your life that you wrote about?
Each one of the stories that I've written have some aspect clearly that I feel emotionally tied to. Certainly the actual story itself, especially when dealing with watching somebody become ill and all of the things that happen when they're terminally ill, was very personal. And when you care about somebody so much and how that affects the people around you, and asking questions, who has the right to decide when, where, how you die? There's no wrong answer there, and there's no right answer there. And personally speaking, I think my dad would have loved to have some of those conversations when he was really ill at the end, but I don't know. I do remember that I put some conversations that we had in both the play and the film. And one of those questions I asked him is, "Are you afraid to die?" And he said, "I have everything that I've ever wanted in my life. I have my home, I have your mother, and I have you. And I have good friends. What else do I need?" And I thought, wow, what a beautiful man. What a beautiful sentiment. And so in that regard, that is very personal for me.
Let's stop there. Wow. How do you know when you're working on the right idea?
I know that it's right for me at this time in my life when it won't get out of my head. I can't stop thinking about it. It keeps calling me. And when I know that I'm thinking about it, even now having a conversation with you, I have in the back of my mind, I'm like thinking about, that's actually a good idea about that character. Maybe I should write that down in the car when I get out of here. So when I have like little nuggets like that, I'm like, it's probably right now. And then when I get that excitement to sit down, even if I'm stuck and have a writer's block, if I sit down at my desk and I start from the beginning and I try to get back into the flow of the story, and I'm still excited about what I've written, ideas come. Or if I'm out walking and I'm just thinking about things that are tripping me up right now or not making sense, if I still care, then it's right for me. It's right for me right now. So that's how I know.
And aside from caring, is it also like, is there a curiosity that won't leave you alone?
Yeah, definitely a curiosity. I become attached to these characters like they're real people, and it's kind of like looking, what's the phrase, looking behind the looking glass or something like that, where I'm just watching them and I'm like, I have to know how the story ends. I need to know where they end up. I can't just leave them out in limbo. So there is a curiosity there.
And old news stories, things like that, do you become sort of fascinated? I know I find myself very intrigued.
If they're relevant to the narrative, then I will do a lot of research and go back and try to find as much information about those people as possible. Because sometimes there's a lot of great quotes from people you would never even think of, and then it sends you off into a tailspin in a whole different direction, and then it's your duty as the writer or the storyteller to like rein it back in so that you're not like bursting like confetti all over the room. But you can follow the rabbit hole for a little while, but always make sure that you're keeping it contained for your overall mission.